Hello ladies, gentlemen, and everybody else watching. My name's Eric, and welcome back to a brand new video here on the Bioshock Hub. So normally I like to provide you guys with good information, whether it's lore videos, information on the new Bioshock game, the new Bioshock movie, you get my point. Well, today I wanted to try something a little bit different. There's a lot of other information that I know, and a lot of it is pointless and useless, but it's still pretty interesting to me, and I wanted, again, to share that with you guys today. So, if you want to see more videos like this, or if you want the videos to be longer if you decide to actually sit here and enjoy this one, let me know down in the comment section below, or let me know by showing support on this video. With that being said, I hope you can sit back, relax, and enjoy 20 minutes of useless Bioshock information. In Bioshock 1, while wandering around Rapture, for whatever reason, you can find multiple dead cats scattered throughout the city. Well, I personally asked Ken Levine through Twitter, and this was his answer. Quote, "I think we had a cat model and limited art resources." So, a long time ago, I mentioned the fact that we may never get the answer to why there's dead cats all over the place, and this also extends into Bioshock 2. Well, thankfully Ken Levine was able to clear that up. This next piece of useless information is just an observation, and I'm sure you guys have probably noticed this as well. So this also extends to Bioshock 1 and Bioshock 2. While either rescuing or harvesting little sisters, depending on your choice, I'm not gonna judge, but if you harvest, you and I have a problem, I'm just saying. But after you either rescue or harvest the little sisters after killing their big daddies, you can notice that some of them have blonde hair while others have darker hair. So essentially, for whatever reason, I'm not sure if Irrational and 2K Marin decided to switch up the character models a little bit, but some little sisters have different color hair than the other ones. So, a cool little detail, but ultimately in the end, it's pointless. During the development of the original Bioshock, Irrational and Ken Levine had a limited budget to work with, and thinking about AAA games, this budget was absolutely nothing because it was that little. Well, they had to improvise. So, Ken Levine voices the Circus of Values machine, as most of you know, but he also voices Martin Finnegan, and also, later on, in Bioshock Infinite, he does the dollar bill machines. Also voicing multiple characters is T. Ryder Smith. You might not know the actor's name, but you definitely know the character because he's most famous for playing my favorite character, Sander Cohen, and also the Zealots or the Murder of Crows enemies. Next time you're playing Bioshock Infinite, listen to the Murder of Crows enemies and tell me that's not Sander Cohen who decided to get his hands on the Murder of Crows vigor. This next one makes absolutely zero sense, and you're going to see why when I actually get into this. I want you to try this for yourself when you're playing Bioshock next. So, we're going to mainly focus on Fort Frolic, okay? Now, as you're wandering throughout Rapture, and more specifically Fort Frolic, you can see lights everywhere. Whether it's the neon signs, whether it's the spotlight that follows you, whether it's the lights up in the ceiling, etc. There's lights everywhere. Well, did you know that there's only one functioning light switch that you can access all throughout Rapture? Yes, one. This is right inside of Rapture Records. All you have to do is walk in and essentially turn around right at the door, and it's on the wall. You can walk up to it, you can interact with it, and turn a light on and off. Again, I have no idea why this is, but hey, maybe during the Rapture Civil War, somebody got extremely pissed off and decided to take their anger out on every single fucking light switch within Rapture, but they missed this one, so this is absolutely hilarious, and again, try it out for yourself the next time you play the game. So all throughout the events of Bioshock, we never actually see our main character Jack's face. You can't see it in a mirror, you don't get a cutscene where you actually see his face or his character model for that matter, but Did you know you can actually see what Jack looks like? Before Andrew Ryan's "A Man Chooses, a Slave Obeys" monologue, you can actually see what he looks like via pictures on the desk with the audio diaries. All you have to do is jump up, or you can actually walk up to the desk instead of jumping on it like a civilized human, and you can see that Ryan was keeping surveillance on you the whole time. Thus, you're able to see what you look like while wandering around Rapture. Oh, and speaking of the "A Man Chooses, a Slave Obeys" monologue, we can observe that Andrew Ryan is doing one of his favorite activities, while Rapture is self-destructing. Thanks to him. And that is practicing his golf putt. Well, he actually likes golf so much that he decided to teach his son Jack how to play it before being game ended. What an absolute legend, and what an incredible father. Though I don't think Jack was a quick learner in terms of the actual ability of playing golf. But hey, at least he got a hole-in-one with the putter in his dad's head, right? We're going to be moving on to one of my favorite things to do every time I play the original Bioshock, and this is a glitch that I love performing. If you guys want to figure out how to do this glitch, I made a video on it over on my second channel. I'll put a card at the top right hand corner of this screen if you want to check it out after this video, and also if you wouldn't mind subscribing over there, that would be very much appreciated. Thank you. Now, during your first encounter with being able to save or harvest a little sister, and more specifically the entire cutscene, you're introduced to Bridget Tenenbaum. Well, did you know that you could actually glitch her out and kill her? Yeah. All you have to do is take one of the grenades that's being thrown at you before the medical pavilion with telekinesis, carry it all the way to the cutscene, and once the door opens, you have to flick the grenade in there. It kills the splicer, the cutscene continues, dialogue and all, and Tenenbaum is frozen in place. You can kill her, you can drag her body down with telekinesis, and you can actually inspect the character model. All she is, unfortunately, is a reused Lady Smith splicer because Irrational had limited assets and limited space on the actual original disc. So, the more you know. Looking at my script, this is probably the most out of pocket that I'm going to be within this video. This entire section is funny, so I do hope you find it just as funny as I do, because if you really think about it, it is fucking hilarious. But let's get into it. So towards the end of the game, as Jack is chasing Frank Fontaine, Fontaine decides to ingest as much Adam as he possibly can. This alters his experience, as you know. During his new form, he's missing his dick. Useless? Yes. Funny? Yes. Is it important information? No. But, hey, dickless Frank Fontaine. Don't do Adam, kids. Don't do Adam. At the beginning of Bioshock, when you first meet Andrew Ryan, you're supposed to stand there and listen to this speech, while splicers try to break the glass in front of you. Well, you can completely skip that option. All you have to do is use Electrobolt, and for whatever reason, stand in this corner, turn around, and zap the wheel or the turnstile on the door. It skips it, and you load into the next level. I honestly have no personal idea as to why this works, so if you do, or if you have knowledge with game design or glitches, please let me know down in the comment section below. I'm actually genuinely interested as to why this works, so please let me know if you happen to know, or if you have a good idea as to why this actually happens. Thank you. We're going to be going back to my favorite level in Bioshock 1 now, that being Fort Frolic. In Fort Frolic, after completing Sander Cohen's quad tick by killing and taking pictures of all 4 of his former disciples, you can actually pull his mask off as he's walking down the stairs. All you have to do is use telekinesis before he actually takes the mask off himself. For whatever reason, this reveals that he's wearing 2 different masks for some specific reason. Now, I know this is probably just a glitch and there's nothing too much to look into, But I still think it's cool that it kind of represents who he is as a person. Somebody that's wearing two masks. He wants to try to prove to you that he's not crazy, while in return, he's making you kill 4 different people that he was involved with, whether it's romantically or professionally, to be able to put on his wall of fame, essentially. So, to me, the two-face symbolism is incredible, and the two mask symbolism is incredible. Again, might be looking too deep into it, but I think that's a cool little detail. Finally, one of the biggest pieces of information that I'm going to give you has nothing to do with actually playing the game itself, so in that regards, it's pointless. But this has a ton of effects outside of the game and actually in the real world. So ever since Bioshock's original launch, all the way back in 2007, and all the way up until November of 2022, Bioshock has sold at least, I want you to keep that in mind, at least 41 million copies across all platforms. That means that from 2007 until 2022, the original Bioshock alone has made a minimum of $2.4 billion. I'm going to say that one more time. The original Bioshock has made a minimum of $2.4 billion. This doesn't include the remasters or the collection. This does not include Bioshock 2, and this does not include Bioshock Infinite. So to this date, at the time of recording, is the 9th of December, 2023. I can only imagine how many copies of the original Bioshock have been sold now, as well as the total amount of copies for all 3 games and its DLCs. To me, that is absolutely mind-blowing, and it's only going to go up from there, in my opinion, with the next game, with the next movie. Bioshock is looking good for the future, and I hope I don't eat those words later on, but I'm going to stick to my guns, I'm going to trust my gut, and I'm going to say that Bioshock is in a good place. Obviously, we just have to wait for more information. The original idea for Bioshock was, how do I say this lightly, very 1930s to 1940s-ish. What I mean by that is the fact that the game would have taken place on a tropical island, with the bad German men being on said tropical island. Unfortunately, I can't say the actual name of this group of men, if you want to call them that, because YouTube would actually hate me if I did, and this video would probably get demonetized or age restricted. You never know with YouTube these days, so just to avoid any conflict, I'm not going to risk it. I hope you understand. After scrapping that idea, Irrational almost made a mistake by almost recreating System Shock, by having it take place on a space station and having monsters, genetically modified humans wandering around, almost like what we got in the final version of the game in Rapture. Thankfully though, cooler heads prevailed and we got to experience the absolute beauty and wonder of Rapture. And that, they say, the rest is history. Although these specific enemies were ultimately removed from the finished game, there were actually going to be human survivors in Rapture that wanted to stand their ground. They didn't want to leave, they didn't die, they gathered as much material as they can, whether it was weapons, ammo, stuff to make armor, melee weapons, etc., and they decided that they were going to stand their ground. So, on top of dealing with all of the splicers and big daddies and other enemies in Rapture, we would have had to deal with these regular ass people as well. Whether they would have actually been enemies or if they would have been friendly and then turned hostile if you did something, that remains to be seen, and that is something that was on the concept boards at Irrational, so I'm not sure if we'll ever actually know what they could or would have been. Do you personally think that the survivors would have added anything to the game at all? If so, or if not, please let me know down in the comments. Thank you so much. Every game nowadays has some sort of way to respawn if you just so happen to die, and Bioshock is no exception to that rule. Some games reload your previous checkpoint, and in others, you somehow get revived, whether it's through a companion or whether it's through being able to kill someone while you're down, like in Borderlands, for example, with the final wind, or the second wind, I should say. Well, in Bioshock, obviously, we have Vita Chambers. However, did you know that the Vita Chambers themselves were not for us at all? Originally, lore-wise, they were only supposed to be used by the one and only Andrew Ryan. After the Civil War broke out, and once Ryan became more paranoid, he locked down all Vita Chambers to only be able to be accessed with his genetic code, and he gave that ability to some of his actual friends as well. Well, on top of that, due to Jack being Ryan's son, he's able to actually use Vita Chambers if needed because he shares a similar genetic code to his father, that being Andrew Ryan. Please keep in mind that in this specific entry, I'm only talking about the original Bioshock. In terms of Bioshock 2, I'm still not entirely sure how Subject Delta is able to use the Vita Chambers, so that has led to a lot of fan theories that Jack, Delta, and hell, even Booker DeWitt are somehow related, or they're somehow the same person stuck in different realities or in different universes. I don't think that's the case, though it is a wonderful idea and a wonderful theory to actually sit down and think about. One small little detail that happens to be one of my personal favorites in the original Bioshock is something that you have to pay very close attention to. So let's jump all the way back to the beginning of the game when Jack is sitting on the plane. As we hear Jack talk about his family, saying how that he was going to be special and that they were right before hijacking the plane, he pulls out his wallet and rubs it. You'll notice a family, or quote-unquote family picture, along with an upside-down business card with an eye in the corner. Well, if you didn't know, now you're going to. This was a very sneaky and subtle way of being able to place an irrational business card within the wallet. So, whoever did that, props to you. If that was Ken, if that was Nate Wells, bravo. That is a very nice detail to see if you can actually catch it. And again, if you didn't know about that, now you do. So for me, one of the biggest what-if situations in Bioshock is that of the Rapture Zoo. If you're unfamiliar with it, it was going to be an entire level dedicated to a zoo within Rapture, as the name implies. I know that now it's a pointless tidbit of information to know about the Rapture Zoo. However, the developers really wanted to include this level within Bioshock. However, due to time constraints, and I imagine financial constraints as well, they unfortunately had to remove it, which is something that they very much regretted having to do. I want you to imagine this. I want you to imagine having to wander all throughout Rapture, fighting enemies like Splicers and Big Daddies, to ultimately end up at the Rapture Zoo. Now, I want you to imagine that on top of fighting those enemies, you now have to fight spliced up animals. For example, gorillas, lions, elephants, and much more. To me, that's an absolutely incredible scenario that I would have loved to personally experience, but I believe in the end, I think it was for the best that we didn't experience it. Again, this is a huge what-if situation because I just think of how this would have played out. I wonder how it would have tied into the story, but unfortunately, we'll never know. Originally in Bioshock, Ken Levine and the rest of the studio wanted all of the main important characters to have their own unique character models. Unfortunately, due to financial and time constraints, and I imagine memory issues with the discs that they were using, we were able to get 3 specific characters with their own models. Those characters are Andrew Ryan, Frank Fontaine, and Sander Cohen. All other main characters you come across while playing the game are just reused Splicer models, so This saved time, this saved effort, this saved money, and also this saved storage. Again, it would have been nice to see that each character had their own model, but I understand why they went with this approach. The final piece of pointless information I want to discuss goes to Bioshock Infinite, and this is another big what-if situation. Obviously, if you've played the game, we had a ton of different levels in the base game, along with a ton of different levels within the Clash in the Clouds DLC. Well, did you also know that we were going to get an official multiplayer experience with Bioshock Infinite? Me personally, I think this would have been a lot of fun, and I personally believe that it would have added a lot more longevity to the game itself, especially if it was done extremely well. Now, the development was so far along, in fact, that maps and stages were being rendered and playtested. Ultimately, and unfortunately, in the end, it was removed. Now, I have a question for you guys. Do you think a Bioshock Infinite multiplayer experience would have been fun, or even memorable for that matter? Whichever side your opinion falls on, whether it's a definite yes, it would have been fun, or no, multiplayer should have stayed away from Bioshock Infinite, please let me know down in the comment section below. I'm very interested in hearing what you guys have to say. Well, ladies, gentlemen, and everybody else watching, I hope you enjoyed that video. And if you did and want to help me out a ton, would you kindly hit that subscribe button as we're on the road to 50,000 subscribers. Also, if you want to put a smile on my face, leave a comment down below. And if you haven't done it for whatever reason, and if you're subscribed, or if you're coming back on the regular and haven't subscribed already, feel free to do so. And also turn on the bell and hit all post notifications. That way, you never miss a future video or a future live stream. I would very much appreciate that. If you want to stay up to date with me outside of YouTube, you can follow my social medias, or if you want additional content, you can follow my twitch.tv, as well as subscribing to my second channel. All of the links you need to know will be down in the description below. And also, if you want to join our Discord server and become a part of the community, I'll leave an invite link in the description as well. A couple of videos should be popping up on the screen here shortly if you want to go check those out. I'd highly recommend it. And with that being said, thank you all so very much for watching. Take care, stay safe, and talk to you all in the next one.